Namo Myoho Renge Kyo, Namo Myoho Renge Kyo, Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. Hi. It's another beautiful day here. I hope it's good where you are. Hope I find you in good health, in good circumstance. I really, really appreciate your practice, your being here. You're participating in this Sangha. Today we're going to continue with on the nature of the Tathagata, and we're going to hit right away, we're going to hit the ground running on this concept you've heard me talk about before on the three aspects of, sitting on my own robe here, three aspects of Buddha not as a person, but as that's one of the three, right? But Buddha-ness. In other words, the Tathagata potential incarnate, if you will. Okay? And whenever Shakyamuni talks about Buddhahood and attaining Buddhahood, we should always keep in mind these next couple of paragraphs where he's going to, I'm going to try to dissect it for you, but really pay attention to, and again, this is a translation. So what language he used at the time in Prakrit to convey this message, I will offer to you that it is those three aspects of our ninth consciousness, a saha world, a physical world manifestation of consciousness, yes, which exists and exhibits and reads and sees and experiences the expression of that Tathagata potential within our lives, our Saha world lives, which is to our generally samsaric understanding of the physical world, an other, a consciousness, a complete shift in the paradigm of moment to moment to moment to moment existence, yes? Being, life as a verb rather than a noun. Yeah, we're not human beings, we are humans being. See the difference? So there's two right there. And then the floodgates of perception, understanding, and an overwhelming compassion for the beyond amazement of the preciousness of what it is to be being in all things is our Buddhist compassion. Compassion being a relation of awe to what is manifest from the standpoint of potential energies and their expression, not in their expression and how much of it we own. That's samsara. There's kind of a pre and post there, yes? It's subtle, but it's deeply important. And when we talk about taking refuge in the Buddha, we're not saying taking refuge in Shakyamuni or any incarnation of Buddha-ness. The Buddha that we take refuge in is all three, and directly from the principle that it is that potential, Tathagata, that in its manifestation in the physical world, we take refuge in. In other words, taking refuge in the Buddha is no different than saying, I'm committed and taking refuge in my potential Buddhahood. To think that way is a wonderful way to introduce Myoho Renge Kyo. Namu, I take refuge in my manifestation of Myoho Renge Kyo, my experience of Buddhahood, which is here and available to me 24/7, 365. Yeah? Okay. So, let me read the paragraphs from which I get that insight. See if you agree. O good man, Shakyamuni continues his conversation with the Bodhisattva Kashyapa. The Bodhisattva will think, this I now takes refuge in the Buddha. Remember what I just said. If this I attains enlightenment and Buddhahood, right? So right away, you see how we're talking about we're in potential. If I enter it, if I manifest that potential, if I experience the expression of Tathagata in my own consciousness, if I reach Buddhahood, I shall not pay respect, pay reverence to, or make offerings to all the Buddhas. Now, what a strange statement to read on first blush, yes? But remember what I said. This is a distinguishing of the three Buddhas. In fact, I'm going to make a note. I might want to make that clearer in this book because it's not made very clear, right? So you can probably guess what I'm going to say next. And obviously, he knows when he makes this statement that this is going to pose some puzzlement. So he follows it up with, why not? Because I know you're going to ask. For all Buddhas are all equal. In potential, we all have it inherently in our verb of life, being, right? In the engine of life. They are all taken refuge in by all beings. If one desires to pay respect to the Dharma body and the Sharira, or the relics, one should also pay respect to the stupas of all the Buddhas. Why? Because that's the place of teaching, right? That's our Butsudan. To guide in all beings. So we don't worship our Butsudan. We pay respect to, we take homage, right? We take refuge in the potential to teach, the potential to spread, to invite others into this realization. See, Buddhism is always based on attitude and intent, not on things. Why is the stupa important? Because it is the place of teaching, of transfer of knowledge, of transmission of the Buddhas, of Shakyamuni's Dharma teachings. Right? It says so explicitly. In the Lotus Sutra, it says wherever there is, where this sutra, this teaching is shared, taught, you should erect a stupa. That's what the Butsudan is. If you begin your practice, what's the first thing we endeavor to do? Get you a mandala and enshrine it in a Butsudan, because this represents the transfer of knowledge, of experience, of guidance toward the experience of Buddhahood. It also makes beings conceive in me a thought of the stupa, right? Because as we share our Buddhist experience, our practice experience, we become that stupa, that place of transmission. See, it's really not that difficult to understand if you keep in mind the three forms that we're coalescing here. To make them pay reverence to and make offerings. Such beings make my Dharma body the place wherein they take refuge. Not me, I the human, I being a self that's created. All beings are grounded upon what is not true and what is false. I shall now, step by step, reveal the true Dharma. If there are people who take refuge in monks who are not of the right caliber, I shall become the true refuge for them. If there are those who seek the three refuges as distinct, as separate things, I shall become a single place wherein they can take refuge. There it is explicitly. The three bodies of Buddha are all one in three different aspects. That's why Buddha is not a thing or a person. It's an experience. It's tendencies and conditions aligned to perfect awakening. Moment to moment to moment to moment to moment. That's why it requires effort. So there can not be any distinction between the three refuges. Once again, all three are one, right? The thus come one. To one born blind, I shall be his eyes, and to Shravakas and Pratyeka Buddhas, I shall become the true refuge. O good man, such bodhisattvas enact the works of Shakyamuni Buddha for the sake of innumerable malevolent beings and all wise people. O good man, there is, as an example, a person here who goes to the battlefield and thinks, quote, I am the first of all of these. All soldiers depend on me. Also, it is like the prince who thinks, quote, I shall conquer all other princes, succeed to the works of a great emperor, gain unmolested or unrestricted power, and make all other princes pay homage to me. So let me not entertain a whit of thought of self-surrender. As with the prince of the king, so too with the minister. O good man, this case is the same with the Bodhisattva Mahasattva. And he thinks, how do the three become one with me? Can it be any more explicit? The thus come one is the Buddha we're referring to. Not a label put on a man, but the triple aspected experience of the potential, the expression, and the realization. I make it in my teachings that the three things are nirvana. Shakyamuni Buddha is the unsurpassed one. For example, the head is the highest part of a man's body, not the other limbs or the hands and legs. The same is the case with Shakyamuni Buddha. He is the most respected, not Dharma or the Sangha. In order to teach the world, he manifests himself diversely. It is like going up a ladder. This being the case, do not regard the three refuges as different, as do common mortals and the ignorant. Abide in the Mahayana as bravely and decisively as a sharp sword. Bodhisattva Kashyapa said to Shakyamuni Buddha, quote, I ask about what I know, not what I do not know. I ask about unattained pure actions for the sake of the greatly courageous bodhisattvas, so that Shakyamuni Buddha will, for the sake of the bodhisattvas, proclaim what is wonderful and expound it, and thus the bodhisattvas will desire to praise the Mahayana Vaipulya Sutras. Shakyamuni Buddha, the great compassionate one, now speaks. I too shall quietude-fully abide in it. The pure actions of the Bodhisattva are well proclaimed in the great Mahayana Lotus and MahaPariNirvana Sutras. O world-honored one, I shall now, for the sake of all beings, disseminate the undisclosed store of the Tathagata-field. Also, I shall now well attest to and know the three refuges. If any beings believe strongly in the teachings of the great Mahayana Lotus and MahaPariNirvana Sutras, such a being will all naturally clearly attain the three refuges. Why? Because the close-guarded store of the Tathagata-field possesses the Buddha nature. Any person who disseminates this sutra says that one possesses the Buddha nature within one's body. Any such person does not, far out, take refuge in the three treasures. Why not? Because one in the life to come perfects the three treasures. Because of this, Shravakas, Pratyekabuddhas, and others come pay reverence to and pay homage to me. O good man, because of this, learn Mahayana Sutras. Kashyapa further said, the Buddha nature thus cannot be known. The 32 signs of perfection and the 80 minor marks of excellence are also of wonder. Then Shakyamuni Buddha praised Bodhisattva Kashyapa. Well said, O good man, you have accomplished the deepest and sharpest of wisdom. I shall now tell you how one enters the Tathagata Garbha. If self lives, this is the teaching of is, right? Thingifying. It does not part from suffering, because to possess is to suffer. To possess is a misreading of life, of the engine of life. To possess, to own, is to slip into the past and develop cravings and clingings. If self does not exist, there can be no benefit, even if one practices pure actions. If one says that all things do not possess self, this is because the non-is theory, i.e. the worldview of the total negation of any existence, which is the theory of sheer emptiness. If one says that self exists, this is the ever-is theory, an erroneous view of life which takes existence as concrete and changeless, right? The eternal self. If one says that all things are non-eternal or within time, this is the not-is view. In other words, whether you call it is or not is, they're the same thing. You can't have a not is without having an is in the first place. And all of that is a time problem. You're in the wrong time. Your mind is not focused on the moment to moment to moment to moment being of the engine of life. You're trying to drag the past along with you. It's over. You're trying to wish it into the future, which hasn't occurred yet. A person who practices the way according to which all things become extinct falls into ever is. This is like the measuring worm, which carries its hind legs forward by the action of its front legs. It is the same with the person who practices ever is and the not is. The not is stands on, depends on is based on the ever is. Because of this, those of other teachings who practice suffering are called not good. Those of other teachings who practice bliss are called good. Those of other teachings who practice non-self are those of illusion. Those of other teachings who practice the ever is say that Shakyamuni Buddha secretly stores truth away. So-called nirvana does not have any grotto or house to live in. It's an experience. You can't clothe it, feed it, put it in a house. Those of other teachings who practice the not is refers to property, right? Ownership, possession. I say it all the time. Those of other teachings who practice the ever is refers to Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, and right emancipation. Know that the middle path of Shakyamuni Buddha negates the two planes and tells of true Dharma. Even common mortals and the dull abide in it and have no doubt. It is as when the weak and the sick take butter, as a result of which they feel light in spirit. The nature of the two of is and not is not definite. It's not has no permanence. For example, the natures of the four elements, earth, water, fire, wind, are not the same. Each differs from the other. A good doctor well sees that each stands against, in contradistinction to, in opposition to, in contrast with, the other. He sees it through even by the one-sided phase of what takes place. O good man, it is the same with Shakyamuni Buddha, or the ninth consciousness. He acts like a good doctor towards all beings. He knows the difference between the internal and external nature of illusion and crushes it out, and reveals the fact that the undisclosed storehouse of the Tathagata-field is pure, and that the Buddha nature is eternal or outside of time and does not change. If a person says is, he must be on guard that his wisdom does not get tainted. If a person says not is, this is nothing but falsehood. If one says is, one cannot sit unsaid. Also, one could not play with words and dispute, only seek to know the true nature of all things. Common mortals play with words and dispute. betraying their own ignorance as to the Tathagata's undisclosed store. When it comes to the question of suffering, the ignorant say that the body is non-eternal and that all is suffering. Also, they do not know that there is also the nature of bliss in the body. If the eternal, or outside of time, is alluded to, common mortals say that all bodies are non-eternal or within time, like unfired tiles. One with wisdom discriminates things and does not say that all is eternal or that all is non-eternal. Why not? Because man possesses the seed of the Buddha nature. When non-self is talked about, common mortals say that they cannot be self in the Buddhist teaching. One who is wise should know that non-self is a temporary existence and is not true. Knowing thus, one should not have any doubt. When the hidden Tathagata-garbha is stated as being empty and quiet, common mortals will think of ceasing and extinction. But that's not the case. One who is wise knows that the Tathagata-field is eternal or outside of time. It's not constrained by time in any way. It's a potential. And it's unchanging. If emancipation is stated to be something like a phantom, common mortals say that the person who attains emancipation is one who wears away to nothingness. Again, because of the materialization of everything, right? We're materialists. That's what samsaric beings do. A person with wisdom thinks that he is a man-lion, and that though he comes and goes, he is eternal or outside of time and does not change. Not he, the body, but the three bodies, the enlightened self. It's not really a self, certainly not the self we conventionally discuss. It's a self which is the cosmos itself. Constantly changing, constantly appearing and disappearing. Quantum life Buddhism, there's a reason I chose that name, because the engine of life is quantum, if you're into science and all that. But don't get distracted if that's not your thing. I have a note here. Let's see what I said. This is now a very important distinction in the Mahayana teachings that establishes a dual truth in the Sangha realm or physical cosmos. Though we speak of opposites, as in self, not self, or is and not is, what is actually happening in moment-to-moment moment-to-moment being is that both truths coexist. Like Schrodinger's cat, one might say that it is the mind of not self in the observation of self. That is the mind of Buddha-ness. But this would be the mind of samsara. So Shakyamuni is trying to clarify that the mind of Buddha actually transcends both sides of this perception as an observer of observation, and therefore of all suchness of self throughout the cosmos. I keep saying enlightenment is an immense, a gargantuan experience, because you suddenly become the process of life that is the entire cosmos, whether it's within another cosmos or recycling itself as CCC, Penrose and Dr. I have a hard time remembering his name. Dr. Hammeroff, and Penrose have unlocked the quantum in the chemistry of the brain to indicate that this is the seed of consciousness. It's amazing stuff, amazing stuff. Anyway. So, yeah. If it is stated that ignorance resides in all things, common mortals hear this and think of two different existences, the bright and the non-bright. But again, everything is potential. By the time something is expressed as bright or non-bright, it does not, by that nature, subsum the existence. It is an aspect of. The two are not two, they are one. Just like the three are not three, but they are one. The wise man sees that the nature is not two, and that the true the nature of not two is the real nature, the self nature. If it is stated that things sit on or depend on consciousness, common mortals say two, which are samskara, or volition, or mental impulse, and vijnana, or consciousness. Yeah? But the wise know that its nature is not two, and that the nature of the not two is the svabhavika, or the own nature, the self-nature. If we speak of the 10 good deeds and the 10 malevolence deeds, of what can be made and what cannot be made, of good realms and malevolence realms, white teaching and black teaching, common mortals conceive of two things. But the wise know that the nature is not two, and that the nature of the not two is the real nature. When it is stated that all things end in suffering, common mortals say that this is two. But the wise know that the nature is not two, and that the nature of the not two is the real nature. See, suffering isn't an endpoint. It's not a destination. It's not something we get to. It's built into the potential. Actions lead to manifestation. Remember, engine of life. If we state that all things made are non-eternal, right, temporary, within time, and that the undisclosed store of the Tathagata too is non-eternal, or within time, common mortals say too. But the wise know that the nature is not two, and that the not two is the real nature. Where are we time-wise? I'm worried that at this point, I'm going to take a break. As much clarity as Shakyamuni wants to create by his analogies and his brilliant words, I don't know about you, but I know for me, at times, I get it. And then he continues and goes, and it starts being word salad. You start reading the words, and the words, they start to have a rhythm and a bit of a kind of a trance-like, well, a chant, if you will. And suddenly that becomes the focus instead of the meaning in those words. So I think, paragraphs like this, they require some time to digest. And I think it may be that as you study these kinds of texts, and as we do this together here, it's important to take the time to digest. Even if it's a sentence that sounds like, okay, what? You may have to read and reread. You may have to throw in your own grammatical. Don't make stuff up, but I mean, sometimes, quite honestly, the translations have lousy grammar. And I've tried to clean that up, but it's a lot of words to go through. I guess what I'm trying to say is this could send you to your stupa, yeah? To engage your Buddha-ness, to see clearly what is being communicated. Ultimately, that's where you're going to find meaning in all of this, yeah? So when things start to sound like word salad, stop, pause, chant for a while, let it marinate. It's kind of like dreaming. When we dream at night, we review all the information of the day and we abstract it into different ways so that we can eschew the stuff that isn't important and then unearth the stuff that we saw but maybe didn't pay attention to because we're so easily distracted. Excuse me. And make sense, make order out of things. I mean, that's what we do. That's what we're built for, yeah? Data management. But we all manage data a little different in our little warehouse of karma. So yeah, don't rush it. The most important thing, and Nichiren would back me up here, use your mandala. Right? Even if you read a sentence of Nichiren and his letters, or of a sutra, take it, you've recorded it in your mind. Then chant for the enlivened ninth consciousness, the awakening of your Buddha-ness. Fully experience it. Dive in, fly through it, whatever analogy you need. When I'm having difficulty, I refer to the chapter of the apparition of the treasure tower, the stupa of 7 jewels, yeah? And that ceremony, not the thing, not the is, not the tower, the ceremony, the vast number of minds in attendance, especially when Shakyamuni sends out this beam of light. This is the mandala, giving you clarity. And the whole audience goes, and sees clearly Buddhahood, experiences the Tathagata-field. It's an amazing chapter. And with that, I want to thank you again for your practice. Any way you have of helping support this effort, this huge resource, the thousands of videos, almost all of them translated into podcasts that you can get for free, just like the videos. Don't forget about all the information on the threefoldlotus.com. All the links are below. Any way you can support, if it's liking and subscribing, that's very important. If you can do more, Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. Thank you so much. Your life will benefit, as will the Sangha. And I have no words other than to respect your bodhisattva efforts. Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your study and your practice. Please take care of your health. Savor your practice. And I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.